Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our PharmD student panel. It's great to have you here today. I'll let our students give brief introductions as to who they are, but I'd like to introduce myself and introduce our other outreach representative. My name is Janet Doan. I'm the admissions outreach representative here at Keck Graduate Institute, and here with me, I also have Johnny Lacey. Johnny, would you like to say hi?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm John Lacey. I'm new to KGI. I've been here for about a month. I am an outreach representative, and my focus is strictly PharmD right now. I spent 10 years working in a pharmacy, so pharmacy is really part of my DNA at this point. I did pharmaceutical sales, pharmacy operations, pharmacy technician, pharmacy clerk, but I never became a pharmacist. So I'm super excited for you guys. So thank you for being here.
All right, thank you so much. And I'd like to give our student panels a chance to introduce themselves. So Michelle, would you like to go first?
Hey guys, I'm Michelle. I am the first year PharmD student. Before coming to KGI, I was also a pharmacy technician. While at KGI, I'm also a admissions ambassador. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
Great, thank you so much. And then on?
Hi everyone, my name is An. I went to Cal State San Bernardino and I graduated with my bachelor's there. And then from there, I applied to pharmacy school. During my whole undergrad, I worked in a pharmacy for about 6 years before I applied. But yeah, I'm currently a first year pharmacy student, and I'm working in the graduate admissions assistant position along with Jen. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, we're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, Genevieve.
Hi guys, I'm glad to be here today. I am also a KGI student and I am a P2, so I'm a second year in the program. Just like Anna and Michelle, I also worked as a technician before starting pharmacy school, and then I work during pharmacy school now. And then a little thing that's special about me is I came into pharmacy school without a bachelor's degree. So if anybody has questions about that, I'm happy to answer that as well.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Please feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions or type them out in the chat. But I have a couple of questions to ask some of our speakers just in case it spurs your imagination for other questions. So everyone, why did you decide to go into pharmacy? I'm not going to pick and choose. You guys can go whenever you would like.
Well, I guess for me, out of high school, I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do. I had a lot of people tell me I was good at business, so I went to Cal Poly and I studied business for a couple years, some marketing here and there, but there wasn't really like an aspect that was rewarding in that sense. So I had a lot of people telling me that I have a pretty good personality to go into healthcare, but I didn't necessarily want to do a doctor or a nurse. And so I kind of explored it. And I actually think that pharmacy is a really good hybrid between business and healthcare. So I kind of explored that a little bit. And then that's when I decided to just take the prerequisites and go to school for pharmacy.
Great. Anna and Michelle?
Oh yeah, I'll go. For me, being able to work in a pharmacy during undergrad kind of really opened my eyes to how important a pharmacist was to especially our patients at our pharmacy, and especially with COVID and everything, and just seeing how readily available our pharmacist was for our patients, really kind of cemented the idea that, hey, this is what I want to do with my profession, and I want to be that person to be able to help my patients out in that sense. So after, I already had plans to go pharmacy school, but I think after COVID and after witnessing all that, really kind of cemented for me, like, this is where I want to be. So I applied for pharmacy school.
Great. Michelle?
I think what motivated me to go to pharmacy school was mainly to help not only community, but also my family, because I have a lot of family that are on medications. However, they are not compliant. So I needed a stronger foundation to educate them, the importance of being compliant in their maintenance medications to prolong their life. So joining pharmacy, is the best route for me to help my family.
Okay, great. I know, I believe all of you mentioned that you were pharmacy techs prior to coming to KGI. What made you take that route going to becoming a pharmacy tech and then applying?
So when people hear you want to do pharmacy, I had a lot of opinions coming my way. Oh, pharmacy is not really in the same direction it was a few years ago. It's really saturated, things like that. So I also had a lot of people tell me, if you want to do pharmacy, you need to be sure you want to do pharmacy. So I was advised to maybe go get a job in a pharmacy. So I actually started volunteering first. I volunteered for like Kaiser MTM and basically just comprehensive medication reviews over the phone with patients. And I was able to shadow the pharmacist. And I think that's when it clicked for me that pharmacy is not just counting pills and community, although I don't actually mind the community setting at all. I realized there's so many different paths to pharmacy. So I decided, okay, now that I've decided I want to go into pharmacy, I should get a job, because I was just working retail at the time at the mall. So I decided to let's get a job in a pharmacy. And then obviously the more I'm in the pharmacy, the more it kind of solidified that I wanted to stay in that field. And then, so it's a great way to get a preview as to what pharmacy is kind of.
I think the exposure is very important if you're going to think about going into school, because it's not for everybody. If you're not exposed to it, and then you go through this process of getting an education and then you get a job, it's a shock. So I mean, I highly recommend, if you have the ability to become a technician first while you're in school, it's the way to go, because you need to be exposed, because there's a lot that goes along with it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and then for me, I was fortunate to have been offered to work in the pharmacy. I first started off as a clerk, but yeah, I used to coach during high school. So one of the girls that I coached, her parents is a pharmacist, and the other one is more like a business manager, and they opened up their own pharmacy. And then they saw that we had them fill out these forms like, oh, what do you want to do when later on in your profession, stuff like that. And we, as the coaches, we filled it out also. And the wife, she happened to saw my application. She's like, and she came up to me, she's like, you want to become a pharmacist? And I was like, how'd you know? And then she was like, oh, I saw a glimpse of your name and your thing. And she's like, I actually own a pharmacy, we just opened it up. She's like, so would you like to work there? And I was like, like, sure, yeah. I knew nothing about pharmacy, but I knew that, I was interested in pharmacy, and I wanted to be a pharmacist eventually. So I was like, yeah, sure. So it kind of all started there for me. And like Michelle said, I think it's so important that you get exposed to doing those tasks first as a tech, and knowing the ins and outs of a pharmacy before you actually like dive into it, so you can be sure that it's the profession that for you.
Yeah. So what about the pharmacy profession that you've learned either at KGI or as a tech that has surprised you?
There's so much. I think something I didn't realize coming to KGI, like I knew, you always know there's the traditional community and then there's hospital as well, but I did not realize how big, I mean, I always knew the pharmaceutical industry was there, but not how much of an impact pharmacists have in that role. So I think for a while, it's really kind of like attached to our profession that pharmacists just dispense, but that's really not true. So I think that's the one thing that surprised me, is I didn't even realize half of what the job opportunities were for pharmacists. And actually becoming a student at KGI has really shown me what the different paths are. So I actually decided to go into industry, even though right before I came into KGI, I didn't know much about it at all. So that's probably my biggest discovery since I've come here.
Can I step in for 1 sec on that,
Yeah.
Genevieve? So I'm glad that you brought that up, because, when you do look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, when it comes to pharmacists, a lot of people do see that that some of those jobs are a bit impacted. But when you really look at the different types of careers that are out there for pharmacists, there's actually, oh, sorry, my dog decided to get in a fight next door. There's actually a lot of other industry type positions available. There's ambulatory care. There is, the fact that a lot of pharmacies are going online, all this kind of like Amazon prescription delivery. There's really a lot of different opportunities out there. And I just want to make sure everybody knows that while some folks are talking about how impacted it is, there's other areas and career pathways that are really opened up to you guys. And I think they're really exciting. So that's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Johnny.
It's like even academia, like while you're going through school and you love it, you might as well teach it if you want to go that route as well too.
Yeah. Anna, anything you want to add?
I would have to agree with Jen too, what she said. I think that was the most surprising thing I've learned about pharmacy is that, before I was in pharmacy school, I used to think that, pharmacists, even working at the pharmacy, I only knew the retail side of it. I didn't really know about the industry side or, the clinical sides of pharmacy, of being a pharmacist. So it was really interesting to learn the different paths that a pharmacist can take. And it's interesting right now just to learn about those different mini paths. And I know during the next few years, we're going to be, experiencing those different routes of pharmacy. So
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you guys. So speaking of, why did you guys choose to go to KGI's PharmD program?
okay, I'll start. For me, it was about more so the community. I think the first thing that struck out to me was just that sense of like family with KGI. I had KGI as my second interview, and they kind of set the bar really high for for everybody else. During the whole interview, even though it was a longer interview process than most schools, I really learned a lot about KGI, and I felt like they really connected well with me as well as an applicant and as a person. Um, just meeting like the faculty, like like yourselves today, and getting to know them in the school. And then I did the on-campus tour with Jason and Caroline, and we were able to walk around, and I got to meet some like faculty members and some current students, and just being able to kind of just communicate and talk with everybody really made me feel like I belong here. This is where I want to go. So for me, it was more about the community that really sealed the deal for me for KGI.
Great. Michelle and Genevieve?
Yeah, I would say the same because I mean there are so many locally, like around here from me because I live nearby. But once I did a campus tour and I got to meet all the faculty and even like some of the current students when I went to my visit day, when they actually spoke with me and told me their point of view, I was like, I could totally relate to everything that they were going through and they can answer all the questions. And I just felt like because of the community was so small, it was so much more personable. And I felt like my personality matched with them. So I was like, this is it. I was sold.
Great. Genevieve?
So the reasons that Anna and Michelle gave are also part of my reasons as well. But my first thing that put KGI on my list for me was the certificate programs. So every pharmacy school, and we know nowadays, especially in SoCal, there's a lot of pharmacy schools, and KGI has a special certificate program where we get split at the end of our second year into 4 different like career categories. And I think that's what initially made me pay attention to KGI. And then when I looked at the curriculum more, I realized that KGI teaches us more about where the pharmacy field will go versus where the pharmacy field is. So there are some schools that kind of stick in their ways and teach you to be a good community pharmacist and counsel like quickly, like over the counter, and then also ones that like focus a lot on clinical and hospital, but not a school that really focuses on like what the potential is where pharmacy can go. So KGI was immediately on my radar because of that. And then I interviewed here, saw the community, and I was like, okay, higher up on my radar. And then they offered me a scholarship, and then I was like top of my list. So many factors went into me deciding, but ultimately I think KGI has a pretty well-rounded curriculum where they give us the opportunity to pick what we want to do later. And they're not exactly telling me not to go into retail or hospital, but they are giving me options as to where I can choose to be later. And that's what
Great.
makes it special for me.
Thank you. So when you are all applying for schools and applying for KGI, what do you think helped you out the most in terms of preparations for applications?
I think for me, it was the things that I'd learned in the past, not only in the pharmacy, but in just real life in general. When you interview for pharmacies, I realized halfway through my application process and writing my personal statement that they don't want to know necessarily everything that you've done in pharmacy, because there's a lot of people that can go get pharmacy experiences, but what lessons you learned in those pharmacy experiences or any experience in the past. So if you are asked a question about teamwork or anything like that, the difference between telling someone about a teamwork scenario in your pharmacy versus a teamwork scenario where you tried to plan like a boba fundraiser for a club, but the boba fundraiser club had more context and you're able to speak more on that experience, then that means more than one that is technically in a pharmacy. So I think that's kind of what I learned is like, nowadays, a lot of people can get experiences, a lot of people can get good grades, but the lessons that you learned, the priceless ones, are a little bit more important and have more, they tell us more about how you are as like a person and how you will be as a pharmacist, as like compared to like what generic opportunities you've had.
Great, thank you. Michelle, on.
So I strongly, agree with what Jen said. I think it's so important. I think what helped me was that I forgot who told me, but while I was applying to pharmacy school, somebody was just like, just be you. Like, when on your statements, on anything during your interviews, just be you. Because I remember I was nervous. You kind of get that like pre-interview like anxiety and whatnot. But they're like, you're such a like you have so much experience. As a person and experience in pharmacy. So just be you and just don't be nervous. And so I took that advice to heart. I think that really helped me out a lot because it just allowed me to, share my personal stories with the schools that I was applying with and with KGI. And I think that's what's important at the end. I think if you're able to stay true to yourself and just be you, I know as cliche as that sounds, I think the pharmacy schools that that you're applying to will very much appreciate that.
Yeah, I think just overall being well-rounded, not just that straight A student. I mean, yeah, that's great, but be more, like just like how they said, the experience that you had, the collaborations that you had in your classrooms and how you took initiative and helped your classmates, share that with KGI because that's what matters, especially when you are admitted. That's what's going to be important to get you through.
Yeah, definitely. It is so important. And I want to just reflect what An said. It's so important to just be yourself. And it's nerve-wracking, but once you get to know that they're a person too, and they're a human being too, it kind of helps out a lot. So what course has been the most memorable in the PharmD program so far and why? I know, Michelle and An, you're in your first year, but what course has been your favorite so far?
I'll go first. So this semester we're taking a professional development course, and it's with Dr. Han, and he kind of teaches you. It is more about pharmacy, but more about like just lessons, like life lessons, and just like habits that you could develop as a person to apply in the pharmacy, but also to your everyday life. And I think for me, like that was really cool, like just to kind of be introspective and reflect, and kind of think about yourself and think about how you are, how you act, how you treat people, and just kind of have that introspection. It really makes you understand yourself more. It really makes you learn about yourself more, and pushes you to become the person that you want to be. And as a future pharmacist, it's essential to have all those skills. To be a very well-rounded pharmacist. So I really enjoyed that class, and I had a lot of fun just listening to Dr. Hans kind of speak and show his like talks, and the book that he made is usually I don't like reading when it's forced on us, but I enjoyed learning about that book and getting to know it. So
Does this mean that you're leaning towards the healthcare management certification, going towards that leadership and management maybe?
So I thought about doing healthcare management, but I think I'm leaning more on MTO, which is because I think I want to go into clinical, but again, I'm still early, I'm still learning, I'm still being exposed, so it might change. I might go to industry, who knows?
Very good.
Great. Genevieve or Michelle?
So that's one of the things that makes KGI stand out is the PDS or professional development series courses that we get. We get one each year. So, and it's a different professor each year. And basically it's a course that like shows you how to do things that you always say like, oh, school doesn't need to teach me how to do, or like, you don't necessarily need to teach people how to memorize things, but there's things that they need to teach you like taxes and things that apply to like your real life. So this is that course. This is the course that teaches us how to write a CV, how to write a letter of intent, how to talk to people, how to present yourself professionally at conferences, and all the things in real life that you need to know that can't really be taught, but you kind of need guidance for, at least for when you're in school, because you can be taught all the therapeutics and you can be taught all the test stuff, but ultimately when it comes to real life things, I wish I had a class like this in undergrad that taught me how to write a personal statement for pharmacy school, but that's the class that we get. And obviously the professors that teach the class each year are fantastic. We get assigned mentors that are faculty when you start school, but all these faculty that teach these courses are like our mentors too. So it's really fantastic. So it's made a huge impact on me too. And just like learning how I am as like a person and how exactly I can get the best out of this program. There we go. Robert, I can appreciate it already. But
Yeah.
you need a class that teaches you the real life skills, because when we get graduated and out into the real world, you have nobody to teach you that anymore.
Mhm.
Genevieve, does that mean like during that class too, they're helping you to hone in on those consultation types of skills and really talking with your patient base?
Not really. So we have a class that is based on like patient counseling and stuff, but the class, the professional development series, is focused on us. We don't talk
Okay.
about other people. They give us like, okay, maybe we'll take an hour to just like zen, listen to some music. Like it's like it really just depends on what but they teach us a lot about mental health too. And it's just about us,
So
because
important.
ultimately before you start taking responsibility of people's lives in your own hands, you need to like truly know what you're doing. So
Wow.
it's great. It's really just for us.
Awesome.
Yeah, professional development is so important. It's definitely needed, especially in the workplace. Once you get out into the corporate world, you're thrown into professionalism without knowing what's going on. So it's wonderful. Michelle?
Yeah, absolutely the same. Like, because I mean, you're loaded with all these classes, but then you have this hour of this course, and then you stop to realize, and what about me? And you just are able to reflect and realize how you're supposed to be as a person. How are you supposed to be as a pharmacist, and be able to manage your life a little bit better? And you walk out of that class like, wow, that's me every week. I'm like, oh yeah, me too. So I totally agree with that class.
It's probably like the perfect timing too, to be, involved in learning so much, especially P1. Well, I know P2 as well, but especially P1, to be able to like take a class that like kind of helps you like kind of clear your head and be thinking about you, because you are learning how to balance so much when you're in pharmacy school. So it's great to hear that feedback from that class. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. So what's, other than that being one of your favorite things, what other part of the program has been your favorite?
Maybe the size.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the size of our classes. I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but we've got pretty small classes, like at this point, 50 maximum. And yeah, I like to hate on it sometimes, because when I don't show up for class, I get texts like, where are you? The teacher's wondering where I am, and I can't slip through the cracks. But in the end, that's a good thing, because I can't fall back and fall behind without someone noticing that I did. So the tight-knit classroom is really great. It does kind of flash back to high school where people are, in each other's businesses, but in a way it's fine, because you are working through this program together. So you end up getting really close to your classmates, and then you're holding each other accountable, because in the end, we're going to have to probably practice with each other later. So any conflicts that happen in the midst of our class, we have to like figure out how to clear it up, because It's not like you can join a different class. You're stuck with them essentially. But it really is a really small community, and people, professors walking down the hallway are always asking me like, oh, how is your club? Like, they remember me. And it's really nice because then as resources later, I can always reach out to these people, and you're not just one out of 200 people in a class, you're one out of only 50. So it's not hard for them to remember you.
Yeah, it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to connect with your professors like that on such a different level, especially if you're not just that little blank little dot in the corner of the classroom. You're part of this bigger community that everybody respects and wants to see you just be positive and have a great working environment.
But like you said, Genevieve, too, it is also a great opportunity because, people look at conflict as something negative when indeed it really is part of life, and it's actually an opportunity to learn from one another, especially when you've got diverse backgrounds, to learn how to compromise, to learn how to communicate better. So in the long run, you're going to be hit with it, no matter if it's a patient that's upset, a doctor, a nurse, whatever. It is an opportunity to learn, and I always had a hard time with that. And then I started to realize, I'm like, wow, wait a second, if I don't get upset, let's just talk this through, because no matter where you work, no matter what you do, whether it's in school, classroom, or whatnot, you have to be able to learn how to work through some of these issues. So
it's funny that you say that, because I always tell people, like when I was applying for pharmacy school, I was saying like, oh, I'm actually kind of lucky that my life wasn't easy, because when you write your personal statement or tell a story, you have to have some kind of struggles and tell people how you got through those struggles in order for you to like be looked at in a certain manner. Same with interviews for jobs and pharmacy school. There's so many questions now that ask you, when is a time you were in a conflict and how did you solve it? So if you can think back and you didn't have conflict with anybody, that's a hard question to answer. So I think conflict is definitely a good thing, and not that I'm just like asking for it all the time or being a person that invites conflict. However, we're all human and we all have differing opinions. And so you'll always come across conflict no matter what, even if you're both good people. Opinion difference and opinions just happen to, so
yeah,
you have to like embrace those conflicts.
They say that the some of the most successful.
Oh no, Johnny, you muted yourself on accident.
Oops, sorry. This computer is so touchy. So they say that no matter what in business, some of the most successful people are those with grit. That's an acronym for growth, resilience, instinct, and tenacity. It's those people that don't give up. They keep, working towards a common goal and whatnot. And that's that tenacity and grit. And then also a growth mindset, which I think is something that's really important for future pharmacists and future healthcare practitioners of any type, to understand that with the changing times, the changing medications, we can see the changing diseases like COVID and whatnot, that healthcare is going to be a continual, it's going to be continually changing. And so a growth mindset is something else. And these are all little things that you can think about when you're, Robert, David, Ruby, when you guys are applying to these pharmacy schools, is to be thinking about these different types of things. So, okay, I'll get off my soapbox.
Oops, I accidentally muted myself.
Yeah, if you guys have questions, please feel free. I know Janet has these like set aside, which are fantastic questions, but if you guys have anything personal that you want to ask, please do.
Yeah, please do. Please feel free to unmute yourself or ask in the chat. But going back, Anne and Michelle, any other favorites that you had in the program?
I like that there's always something to do. There's always something to participate in. There's always something that will fit who you are. Some of the clubs that are there, they have events that you can have hands-on experience. So if you haven't worked in a pharmacy, that's okay. Just join a club. they'll put you out in like, I guess, health fairs, and you can practice with real patients and get that experience. So I think that's so cool. So something to look forward to.
Thank you. On?
Yeah, just to add to what Jen and Michelle both said, like I really like the sense that since we have such an intimate like community here at KGI, it allows you to really network and really get to know each other well. And you know, that encourages your collaboration, and you know, they're willing to help you out too. Like, you know, I know multiple times like other students, they'll have like job offerings at their job. They're like, oh yeah, you know, like we know people, so then they'll recommend it to us, or vice versa. Like if I know, you know, openings for intern positions, or if there's a health fair going on, I'll reach out to my class and be like, hey, you know, you guys want to volunteer and stuff like that. So you kind of have each other's back, and you're basically supporting each other throughout your 4 years of pharmacy school. So I love that. I love that sense of community. And back to what John was saying, we actually learned about grit and the growth mindset in our professional development class. So it's, see, that's what I'm talking about. Just everything is like full circle. It's not just to pharmacy. It's like your life. Like you see these things come up over and over again, and it just helps you develop as a person. So I love that.
Oh yeah, it's so important. So David had a question. What has been your biggest sacrifice upon entering pharmacy school?
So aside from just not being able to watch as many YouTube videos as I did before, I think pharmacy school is pretty demanding, especially just because it's a doctorate and you have to study, and you want to do well in order to do a post-grad like fellowship or residency. So the pressure's on, but spending time with my family is, that's probably what is being taken away from me the most, because my family is very understanding. And, you know, if there's like a birthday or like a dinner that my family's throwing and I can't make it because I have an exam, of course they're going to understand, but it kind of does like, it kind of sucks. You know, I love hanging out with my family, and then also my friends who are not in pharmacy school, you kind of feel withdrawn a little bit. But as long as you have a solid group of people that kind of understand you're going through this program, and then that the program's only 4 years, it kind of helps you through it. But also making sure you do set aside time. And I still live at home, so it's kind of nice because I do get to see my family, even if it's in passing. I don't live over by campus, so I get a little bit of that back. And so sometimes I'll have like, you know, days where I hang out with my sisters and stuff, but for the most part, I am here at school like 12 hours a day because it just, you know, takes that a little bit out of you.
Those years will fly by though. They definitely will. Michelle and On, any other sacrifices you think you've made going to pharmacy school?
Yeah, I would say also family. It's very difficult right now having 8 courses and studying for all these heavy exams. Like I'm a mother, so being able to put all my time towards my studies and not really being able to play with my kids, like I'm not going to get that time back. So this is the biggest sacrifice of my life. But they have to realize I'm doing it for them. So.
No, you're doing great, Michelle. No, they're looking up to you.
Yeah.
Working as a full-time mom and a student.
Homework again. I'm like, yeah, you'll understand when you're older.
Yeah, no, they'll appreciate you and see you as a superhero for sure. Definitely takes a lot. Thank you, Michelle. On anything?
Yeah, I mean, just what Jen and Michelle said again, like, I think that's going to be the biggest thing that most pharmacy students is going to have to sacrifice is their time. You know, you don't have the same time as you did in undergrad, or if you were taking a break from school. Like it's totally different. Like pharmacy school, no matter wherever you go for pharmacy school, the program is going to be, you know, rigorous. So it does require a lot of your time, and I think it's your choice to make the best out of that time, and sit down and kind of make a time management schedule, and just make sure that, you know, you prioritize school and make time. Still, it's important for family and friends and for yourself too. So, you know, it's going to be a constant juggle, and most people tend to do better than others. Like I struggle a lot with time management. So, and I'm still learning and adjusting and all of that stuff. But I think as you go through the program and as you learn more about yourself and how much you can manage and you know what organizations you should join or which organizations you shouldn't join and stuff like that, you kind of figure it out yourself and kind of get into like the groove and routine of things. So it's not as stressful as you move on. During your first semester, it is a little overwhelming because you are learning to adjust and you're learning to adjust to the program. But once you kind of get into the flow of things, you and kind of have like a routine and know your schedule, when you can hang out with people and stuff like that, it like you say, Jenna, it just flies by. Like, yeah, we're blinking and we're almost done with our first year. Like what?
Mhm.
Yeah, and we don't want to talk about sacrifices without, you know, talking about like the rewards. But man, if I spend the whole weekend, I missed my cousin's birthday dinner, but I take the exam on Monday and it comes back in A, ooh, it's like that feeling you can't really replace either. So I love my family, but you know, it's all balanced, and it's not to say you don't get rewarded for it, because you do get rewarded for your hard work, and then eventually people notice. And even if it's me like planning events and stuff like that, like people do notice that you're doing really well, and so you get paid back from those sacrifices. Like I've like impressed myself with what I can do. So
Yeah, it's definitely rewarding, and it's so important to give yourself some grace and understanding, like this is just a one-time thing that you're going through, and you know, it's 4 years, it's going to be brutal, but it's important to also enjoy the journey with everyone that you're with. So I also have another question from Ruby. It says, I know P1 year is very hectic and hard, taking 6 to 7 classes per semester, and we've received letter grades. Therefore, can you please go over the grading policy with the classes, and what is passing/percentage for all of the classes?
I can answer this one. It's going to be the same answer for all three of us, but 6 to 7 classes, yes. However, in each semester, there are, in those 6 or 7 classes counts the PDS course and the intro courses that aren't too heavy. So think of it like you have probably 2 to 3 heavy classes. Like I think first semester you had like a drug kind of OChem, biochem class, and then there's a law class, and or anyway, you have 2 to 3 heavy ones, and then the rest are lighter. So they're not exactly demanding classes, ones you might have to study for, a couple of quizzes for, but for the most part, they're more for our knowledge. Like we talked about the 4 certificates. So we woven into our curriculum, we have classes that introduce us to each of the curriculum, into each of the paths. So you have one that will teach you about industry, one that will teach you about like hospital and things like that. And then another one that will teach you about pharmacy informatics, which is like tech. And then another one that teaches about healthcare management. So those ones are a little bit lighter classes, a little bit less stakes. So there is balance. And of course, when the heavy tests come around, then we're all studying and kind of hidden in our little cocoons. But for the most part, they're not all hard. So 6 to 7 may seem a little intimidating, but they're not bad. And then as far as grading, it's pretty traditional, just like in undergrad, where exams are weighted a little bit differently than quizzes and assignments. And I think for us, they round at everything at the 79.45 and up and 89.45 and up. So that's just the cutoff for KGR in general, no exceptions. Basically, they just round. So it's pretty traditional. And then passing percentage, it's been very good. I think in each class, we haven't lost so many people, but it also is not just about whether or not they pass the course or not. It's also that some people decide a year into the program that pharmacy is not for them. So it's kind of hard to give you a gauge as to like who passed and who didn't pass, but for the most part, I think our classes are doing pretty well.
Yeah. And like you said, it's so important to get that experience like you all did and see if you were interested in the pharmacy program, because it is such a huge time commitment, monetary commitment, every kind of commitment you can ever imagine. It's all of them. So it's so important to just know, do I really want to go into this? And is this the right path for me? So thank you. So I just want you all to just talk about some of your experiential opportunities in the program. So IPPE, APPE, and so forth.
So for our first year, we haven't really done any like rotations or anything like that. I know Jen has, so she could speak a little bit more on that, but we start ours in the summer. But we've done like some IPI kind of interprofessional event where we collab with current students from UCR medical school and nurses and EMT and stuff like that. And we were given the case and encouraged like interprofessional collaboration. So it's pretty cool hearing everybody else's like side of their profession and what they're learning through their school and how we all can come together to basically provide the best patient care that we can. So it's really eye-opening because in the real world, you're gonna have to learn to work with people, especially if you want to go, more in like the clinical side and stuff like that. So being exposed to that so early in our pharmacy journey is really cool, and I'm looking forward to getting to do that more often. So
Hey, have they talked to you guys about the new PA program and how you guys will collaborate with the PAs, like in that emergency room, sim lab and everything? Because I'm hearing some stuff, but I don't know exactly, but it looks like it's gonna be just a really fun collaboration to be doing, like rounds, like the pharmacist in the hospital doing rounds with the doctors. Have you guys heard anything about that?
so we haven't been officially told or been announced about the interprofessional collaboration with the PA program yet. I thought it was just the same as you. I thought it was going to happen, but I haven't heard of official word yet. But I hope so, because I mean those little stimulation room and all of that, they're awesome. So hopefully we do get to work together with them and the new program. So
I think it'll be good.
Genevieve, Michelle, any experiential opportunities you would like to talk about?
So because I'm in my second year, we did our first introductory pharmacy practice experience last summer, but it was community. So for those that worked in community, it was basically the same. I was put in a different chain than the one that I work at. So it is definitely different because in the end, you do have to be able to learn about different programs and how to use it and just adaptability in general. So it was actually fantastic. And it was actually my opportunity to like vaccinate a lot. So it really just depends, like getting practice. Vaccinating is super important. And then we get our different ones, like our hospital one, as well as my industry one this coming summer. So it's kind of nice because for those that didn't work, then we got a 6-week little like trial in a community setting. So it was great for people that had never been in a pharmacy to like learn exactly what it's like. So these experiences are kind of put in there so that you once again can solidify that you want to be here and that it's like something you see yourself doing in the future.
Yeah, it's definitely a good hands-on learning experience. Michelle, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, just like I'm also P1, so I haven't done my IPI yet. It will come this summer, so I'm going to be exposed to another community pharmacy. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Can't wait.
Yeah, it's great to just get to know all the different pharmacies in the area. You'd think they all run the same, but they definitely don't. John, did you want to add anything?
Oh, I was just curious, Michelle, do you know where you're going yet?
I do. Actually, for my actual job, I'm with CVS. And for the summer, I'm going to go with Rite Aid. So I'm going to learn their system and how they do their, stuff. So it's different because I used to work at Walgreens, and that's totally different from CVS too.
Yeah.
So it's important to get that exposure.
Yeah, for sure. Genevieve, did you get to fill prescriptions as well while you were in that first experiential one?
Yes. So you basically can do everything because they want to teach you what a technician does as well as what a pharmacist does. So, and like they want you to counsel as well. So you do pretty much everything except for the roles of a clerk. So you're not really like supposed to be like doing any of the ringing up. So you kind of like, they'll ring out the person and then you could kind of jump into counsel. And then vaccinations, of course, and then filling, because they do want you to practice filling. So they give you like a little checklist of what you're gonna expect to do. Like one of the check boxes is take a prescription from a doctor's office and write it down. Another one is counseling a patient on a new medication. Another one is like transferring a prescription from our pharmacy to a different pharmacy where you have to kind of read it out. So they give you a checklist of things you need to do so that you get exposed to every job at least once. Because honestly, pharmacy, the more you do it is the more, that's how you get more comfortable with it. So the more you fill, the more you take in prescriptions, the more routine it becomes. And then of course we get to practice filling and things like that too. So it was a great, well-rounded experience.
And you're pretty much a pro because you're already a pharmacy tech. Filling.
Yeah, I was doing it for like 4 years before school. So these two are not going to have problems at the Rite Aid or wherever you get placed.
Awesome.
The only thing
awesome.
was learning the new system.
Thanks.
Okay,
And you guys know I'm still learning, like, you know, what the P1 experiential actually does, because I'm 4 weeks into the job now, and I wasn't quite sure if, you know, if you're just kind of getting your feet wet or if they're throwing you in there and having you do it. So I'm glad to hear that you guys were doing all that stuff. It's good to hear.
It's like throwing you in there, but at least you have a hand to hold. Is a pretty good analogy.
And you have the experience to put on your resume and to use during all your interviews, which is so important. That's truly invaluable. So other than, you know, going to school, taking all your classes, what other opportunities and activities have you done on campus?
I can go. I am pretty active, but I kind of stay like loyal to like a couple organizations. So I am a part of the pharmacy fraternity at KGI. So I do a lot of activities within that fraternity, lots of networking, things like that. But I'm also a part of CPHA, which stands for California Pharmacists Association. And there's a couple different organizations on campus, but that one focuses mainly on legislation and how legislation and law affects our professions in the future. So because I know I'm going to be a pharmacist later, and that the laws that are being developed now are going to directly affect us by the time we graduate, I like to take a pretty big role in the legislations and things that are happening now. So for example, COVID changed the game, right? We were able to get laws that now tell us that pharmacists can administer COVID shots, do COVID testing, and then now maybe prescribe COVID drugs, and like especially pharmacists prescribing birth control. Those are the types of laws that have just been put into effect in the last couple of years. And so the next couple of years will determine what laws go into when we are pharmacists. So I love to be a part of that. And as students, we're actually able to vote on some of these laws. And if you're part of the organization, you can go to these meetings and kind of talk about it and help them like change terminology if you feel like it's going to be too specific or not specific enough. I know there's a lot of people fighting for like LGBTQ and the terminology that goes into the laws now. So for me, I can talk about it all day, but I like to take a big part in like what's going to affect our career in the future. So I'm pretty active on campus, and I love to draw people in and be active with me.
Great. Anna and Michelle?
What I've done was apply to be an admissions ambassador. I found that it was very useful when, you know, I was a prospective student as well, and I came across admissions ambassadors and how knowledgeable they were and how, you know, their experience they shared with me. And I wanted to be that person as well. So I took on that role. So, you know, I can share with you guys what I've gone through and answer any of your questions because I've been there, you know. So I think that's very important to me because, you know, I want everyone to succeed and be able to get this position and get into school, because I know, you know, if you're applying for it, you probably have the passion. So I just want to help guide you there as well.
Yeah, understandable. It's so much better to be able to talk to a peer who is in that same boat as you. So thank you so much, Michelle. On?
Yeah, so I'm a member of NCODA Oncology Club, KGI. We actually became a national chapter this year, so it was really cool. And then I'm a member of CPHA, like Jen. and then working in the grad assistant position with Jen as well. So we get to, speak with fellow applicants and students interested in pharmacy and do the visit days and help around with all that. So it's really cool. There's a lot of different types of activities that you could do at KGI. And anything that piques your interest, there's probably a club for it. On campus, we have like a beer club and we have a foodies club that they go out and they try like new foods in the areas, or even like in LA and stuff. So whatever you're interested in, just like Jen said, just choose, 2 or 3 clubs and just dedicate your time to those clubs instead of, joining 10 clubs and not knowing what's going on with each club. So it shows better leadership and dedication if you can just dedicate to 2 or 3 clubs and try to do something within those clubs, whether it be become a board member or become some type of leader. It'll really reflect a lot for yourself. So we also had a March Madness like basketball tournament recently, and that was like probably one of the coolest, most fun thing I've done. Me and some of my P1 classmates, we put a basketball team together and we competed against like the other programs at KGI and stuff, and we had like a whole tournament, and we were undefeated. So that was really cool. So it's just like extracurriculars like that to keep you busy while you're going to school. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely great to be able to talk to people who are in the same struggle boat or stress level as you. So being part of those clubs, you're able to just connect with people on such a different level than you do in classes. So final question, since we're coming up on time, what advice would you give to prospective students?
I give the same piece of advice, but it's don't do it alone. Like, you're in a program where you're in a cohort and there are all these people doing the same thing as you. So don't try to do it all by yourself. Either you probably can, but it's not as enjoyable, because when you kind of have your circle and you find your study group or even just people to celebrate with you when the exams are done, it changes the game as far as school. Like, I've been pushed to my limits academically and stress wise, but in the end, when we all get out of the exam, we hit submit on the computer and we all go out to eat or grab drinks or anything like that. Like, it's just such a great feeling to have people around you to celebrate it with you. Also, like, your stress levels and handling it by yourself is not good for you either. So you need kind of an outlet, and to be able to, I always tell my friends, like, I'm going to be dramatic and I don't want to study for this test. Like, I'm done. And then, but of course I have to. And so 2 seconds later, I have to compile myself and just do it. But, you need people to kind of yell at and vent to, and it really, really helps. So don't try to like keep it inside, because at least for me, it doesn't really work. And it kind of makes you more stressed out than you need to be, but kind of like embrace the people around you and do it together. And I think that's really important.
I think for your first year, don't pile on too much. Get adjusted to what you can handle. And then your second semester, you can decide, oh, I can add more. Or if you're working, don't be afraid to tell your boss, I need to cut back some hours, because ultimately your studies come first. You're investing all this money, and I mean, you should do your best because it's expensive. And yeah, just time management, just kind of deal with that your first semester, and from there you'll do good.
Yeah, I agree. With Michelle and with Jen, and indirectly, I guess my biggest advice would just be like, I know it can get overwhelming, especially your first semester, but just make sure you take time for yourself and just time to take care of yourself. It's so important. I think self-care is so underrated and it needs to be, advertised more and promoted, because you're not going to be able to get through pharmacy school if you don't have, if you don't take care of yourself. Is what I'm trying to say. You have to be comfortable with going into the program and learning how to deal with all the stresses and whatnot. But it comes back to you making sure that you're going to be okay mentally and physically. So it's super important. And I think that would be my biggest advice.
Thank you. Yeah, I really think all of you just hit the nail on the head. It's so right to just take care of yourself, lean on others, and just make sure that you can manage everything that's on your plate, because you don't want to go in there stressed out, not knowing what to do. And always feel free to reach out to anyone, any of the staff members, any of the faculty members. Your peers are there for you too, but the staff is also there. We want to make sure that you're successful. We want to make sure that you're happy and enjoying your experience. And if you have any questions regarding applying or the summer programs, feel free to reach out to any of us. We're all here to help you out, all here to make sure that you're successful. And with that, thank you so much for being here tonight. I really enjoyed being able to connect with you all and hearing all about your different experiences in the PharmD program. And I hope you all were able to get something out of it. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you at KGI. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.